And we're gonna write something completely original. So let's go!
I have so much B-roll of just shit around your room.
Oh my god, why?
You have no plans.
Shut up! Some bitch, I'm not in school. Hey, what's up? It's the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who did the 24-hour novel challenge, and you know what? He never stopped writing. So I was trying to think of what my next project should be, and I was like, it's gotta be something original, right? So I was like, how do you write an original story? It's gotta be... Yeah, what's up? Thank you. Alright, the lanky J now has a chair.
Poggers.
So how do you write an original story? Well, first, you gotta learn how to read. You know, you gotta read to digest information, use that information, and then throw it all out the fucking window because we're talking originality here. So I read How to Read Literature Like a Professor. I actually read this 2 years ago for a class, 3 years ago, it's 2021, 3 years ago for a class. Cut out the fuck.
This is a family-friendly channel.
Yeah. So I read this 3 years ago for a class, and when I read it, I saw one particular quote, and I read something like this. So this one dude found Egyptian papyrus complaining that all the stories have been told and that therefore nothing remains for the contemporary writer but to retell them. That papyrus describing the postmodern condition is 4,500 years old. And then at the end of that paragraph it says, I suspect that a wholly original work, one that owed nothing to previous writing, would so lack familiarity as to be quite unnerving to readers. And I took that personally. So, 3 years ago, I wrote a script, I planned out exactly how I was going to do this, and it just got crazier and crazier until I could not feasibly figure out how to write a story. So, 2 years ago, I decided to start over. I was going to abandon the idea of completely original and just try and be as original as possible, and I realized that also was not... that was at least not interesting. So now I have a new idea. So we're gonna go through this and we're gonna write something completely original. So let's go, friends. Let's just get some B-roll of me fake writing and doing shit.
Okay. Now what does that kanji mean?
The. The is actually the Japanese kanji for, in Japanese it's pronounced za, and it's actually a compound kanji, so it's za and then there's a second kanji that goes with it, and that kanji is pronounced warudo. So it goes za warudo. And that means you are a fucking weeb because you laughed. Okay, so if it's gonna be like story, what are elements that I wouldn't steal from anything? So person. You can add some drama. Person. No, what's he want? Person wants to eat taco. But see, then I can't use taco. That comes from another language. I can't give him a want because, you know, that's a set thing that a lot of stories do. People are like, oh, your character's gotta want something, so I can't do that. Person, let's add some drama, is frozen, like a deer in headlights. But then, that's another problem, because first off, I'm trying to do drama. I'm trying to do in media res, where we start in the middle of the story, but like that's another concept from somewhere else. And then frozen like a deer in headlights, that's another issue because that's a common phrase used from other stories. Oh shit. So my first problem that I'm going to encounter with this is, to make it original, I have to abandon all English literature. I'm going to have to abandon all story structure. So if you've ever seen the monomyth or the hero's journey, I can't follow that. I can't follow any derivation of that. The story probably, very probably, I've decided, cannot even be linear. So I'm thinking some sort of circular story. But then again, the problem is, those exist. There's this one book series I've seen where like you can start with any book in the series and then go to the next one and it still makes sense. There's some stories where it just like, it's an eternal time loop. It just keeps looping. So what I'm going to do is I got to find a story that you can start literally anywhere in the story, go any order, and it will still make sense. And that's a huge problem. And here's expounding the problem. In English, there are a lot of words and phrases that are borrowed from stories, in a sense. So like, Godzooks is actually a phrase that comes from the fact that people couldn't say God damn it back in medieval times, so they would say God's wounds instead. And that kind of shortened to Zounds or Godzooks, stuff like that. So any character who uses Godzooks is referencing Shakespeare and is not an original phrase. And there's tons of examples like this in the English language. Sometimes whole grammar constructions can be taken from the way people spoke in stories. For example, again in Shakespeare, people would speak in a very weird poetic way. So nowadays, if someone's trying to mimic royalty, they might speak in that similar way. So again, it's not original. So what I've decided is I now have to construct my own entire language in order to write this story to keep it original. And then there's another problem with that. So I don't want to be confined by what a traditional language is. So it can't be any Romance language, because I know those. It couldn't be any sort of Eastern style language, so no syllabics, because I also know those. Any language that already exists, it can't be like it. So I've decided I'm just gonna go out, no sound-based languages. So no speaking in this language. In that sense, it also can't be written, sort of, in a visual format. I originally contemplated making a chemical language because that would be really cool, but then again, ants, you know, they speak in chemicals, so I don't want to be stealing from them either. We want an original work here, copyright free. Nobody can claim any part of this work as theirs. Ants don't have rights yet, but they will. So then thinking about how to make a language that isn't based on any human thing. So my original idea is I might like make a string language or something, and it's like based on the sense of feel. So it's not quite like Braille, but it's like how you feel the string. Maybe there'd be knots in it, but see the problem with that's Incan language. Incan. Humans are f***ing smart as shit, and they keep making languages, and they need to shut up. Okay, so I've abandoned all human literature. I've abandoned all human and ant languages. The other animals don't matter, f*** them. I have abandoned time, so what I've decided, I'm going to base a language in numbers, but not like how computers speak, okay? This is going to be one based on spatial awareness. So it's going to be based on measurements. So I'm going to make actual physical objects that are the words, and the measurements, the dimensions of these objects will decide like sort of the letters of this language. And each word will be its own sort of concept, and they can be read in any order at all. You can start at any one of these words, and that'll make the story. This might be very crazy. So let's go make some words.
So you're just gonna sit here and make an entire language?
Yeah, bet. Alright, so I took a very long journey and got these things. So let's go ahead and sketch out the language. So for the story, we're going to need characters. Oh, right. Can't have characters. Okay. So for the story, what we're going to want is words, I think. I have no fucking clue how to do this. So let's have a story that is just the progression. I've got it. I've got a meta-narrative. Okay. I'm going to bullshit this at the end, but you're just going to have to follow me until then. So we're going to have to sketch out some things. So let's say we're using centimeters, right? Now here comes our most recent problem, yeah? This little device is going to determine how I make this language, because these are preset measurements, aren't they? So I can't use that. And then I don't want to use this because the thickness of the paper was decided by someone else, and that could decide how long it is too, because these are physical objects, right? If I was using paper versus wood, I could have so many more of paper than I could have wood. So the materials I use also matter. We're gonna have to make our own materials. Okay, so mine are set back. All the leaves are wet. So one thing we're gonna want, I can't use string either, like real string, because that again can determine the thickness I'm working with. So I'm gonna want to pick some of these. I think this is about a thickness I'd be happy to work with, so I might get a few of these. Preferably ones without too much of a prominent thing on the top, because I don't want to get any buggos or anything in here. Ooh, that's got a tick. This is a good one. So now we want a leaf. I'm just gonna wait for them to leave. Okay, so we're gonna need to find a leaf that is good to use with. I don't want to be limited by thinking of something that's similar to... Get in my pocket, Jesus. So we're gonna need to find a leaf that is good to work with. I don't want to be limited by something that just seems like it's like paper. I want something that ideally I can cut and measure effectively. And it seems like there's only two types of leaves. Okay, so we got whatever this is, and then whatever this is. And these seem to be our two options. This would be very bad for measuring because it's got cuts in it, so we wouldn't be able to get much dimension. This, however, would be pretty good, but I'd like to see if there are other options around here. This is some green ones, which might be harder to cut. There's a lot of bushes around here, and I don't remember what poison ivy looks like, but I am extremely allergic to it. So we're gonna hope I don't pick any of those. This is a man-made structure, so nothing can be used here. It's at this point I start wondering what my purpose is. Okay, so this is great. This is great. This tree was here the whole time, and I didn't notice. I think this is good thickness, so we're just gonna need to pick out a few leaves. I want this to be read in any order, so I want to limit the amount of words I'm using. So see, that's a self-imposed limitation, not one based on literary constraint by other authors and shit. Solid leaf, fuzzy on the bottom, hard on the top, like me. I don't know what that is.
What does that mean?
And then I'll just take one more. I think we only need about 4 words for this whole story. It's gonna be something though. Okay, so now we need a way to measure these. So let's get a stick. A stick. We need a straight one, something straight. This one looks pretty straight. Ooh, it's dirty though. That's dirty. Yeah, it's come to my attention that any stick in nature is going to be dirty, so we're going to have to deal with that. And the next step, we're going to need to find a way to standardize measurements with this. So if I were to do this with a ruler, I'd be set to either doing centimeters or inches. Now what if I wanted my pieces to be about approximately this height? See, so that's where I have choice now, because there's dozens of rocks of every height. Okay, so here's my supplies. We got string, paper, ruler. Okay. So that's my measurement rock that we're gonna base against. Stay here. Perfect. Now what I need is a sharp marking rock, like this. This will be my marking rock. So we see this is about 1 rock unit. Oh God. Oh, this ain't marking well. Okay. So this is going to be an approximate language because obviously exact measurements would be quite hard like this. Oh man. How did cavemen do this? Oh. Yeah, okay. Now we're cooking with oil. See, I couldn't use that phrase, cooking with oil. Can't use that in my story. It was probably said in some sitcom. Yeah, it's noticeable. Okay. Next unit. Okay. That's decently noticeable. You can sort of see the points right there. So we got 4 words. We got 4 units. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 units we can measure against. So what I'm thinking is each word is going to be a measurement up from that. So when inventing a language, you don't have to know all the words in that language. You just need to use the ones useful to you, and then hint at the fact that you have the rest of the language. So first off, I need to meditate as to what this hypothetical society using this language would set their words as. So give me a second to chant some Buddhist mantras. This is actually me real time thinking through how I'm gonna do this, because I did not plan this part out either. I've got it. Yes. Story. It's all coming to me. It's all coming to me. Story. Yes! Story!
Buddy, you want to drink some water?
No! I don't need your stinking water.
For me?
I don't need your influence juice. So for this language, a unit of 1 unit, that is going to mean something similar to the pronoun you. It is going to be an original concept, of course. The concept of... So let's go back to basics. This isn't something I've taken from somewhere. The concept of I is always with me. I am myself. So when I use I in the terms of the story, it means me specifically. No other story author knows me, has used me. It is just me. The concept of me as I am now, the concept of me as I know myself, the concept of me eternally. And that is impossible to capture by anybody, but that's what I is going to mean in this story. Now, that word does not exist in this language. That word is going to be a unit of 4. However, I don't have a long enough leaf for that. So we're going to pretend that word exists in this language, but it's not in this. That is needed for reference because a unit of 3 is going to be you. And you is defined as opposite of me. It is not defined as the same way a pronoun is in any other language where you is a third person. No. You is the opposite of me. It means anyone who is not me. So we're going to go ahead and make that a unit of 3. Let's make a mark here. Oh, shit. So this leaf is ruined. Let's go here. A unit of 3. Again, this is an approximate language. So also for this language, it should be noted, it's read from the longest side. That's where you determine measurements. The short side is nothing but grammar. However, this story breaks linear convention, so there is no grammar. Now, this one is going to be at a unit of 1. This is going to be the concept to be, like is, are, but no conjugation. It's just to be, to exist. It is a statement of fact. It's that sort of general concept. This is a much livelier leaf. Okay. And then since it's got to be on the longest side, we'll cut this leaf in half along its edge. There we go. This is the concept of is, to be, and then you. And then this last leaf at a unit of 2 is going to represent story. Story. So we're going to put a unit of 2. Marker right here. 1, 2. There we go. And we're going to mark that off. Cut it. There we go. So we got a unit of 1, a unit of 2, and then a unit of 3 tall. So that is going to be you is story. But of course this can be read in any order. So it could be you are story, it could be story are you, it could be you story are, or it could be our story you. Any way you want to interpret it, because the thing is, literature is interpretive. You gotta be able to interpret it. So that's what we're gonna do. So now what we need to do is drill a hole in this to make it into a book so that we can have something to string our twine through. All right. Oh no. I have done it. Okay, this is the story. Let's go back and check it out. Yeah, so this is my story. It can be read in any order. So we could start with you, and we could go you, story, R story, you. We could go you, R story. Story is you, or any sort of way like that. I was pointing to the wrong ones. But you get the point. But yeah, so the main idea is just, you know, it's interpretive, and that's what stories are, and that's the main problem of this, because that's an idea of stories I stole from someone else. You know what? The concept of making up a language, I stole from someone else. So one thing I've learned from Tolkien is that when inventing we cannot leave that in.
No, we cannot. I might.
The concept of not making the entire language, stolen from J.R.R. Tolkien, who said, you don't have to make the whole f***ing language, you just gotta make enough so that the readers know you got it. I don't even know if Tolkien said that. That's the thing, because we steal from everybody. You know what? These materials I used are only because I live in a temperate climate. I live here because humans decide to migrate here. I didn't evolve here naturally. I didn't go seek out this place specifically so I could use those materials. Even if I had, I would have had to go on a boat, use transportation made by other people. Those factors all decided how my story played. And you know what? That's acceptable. You're not going to have an original story. I disagree with Thomas C. Foster when he says an original story would lack familiarity so much as to be unnerving, because I don't think it's even possible to have an original story. And that's the thesis for this video. I have wasted my time, thank you. I would also, I would like to add one more pretentious note. This is a story that is temporal. Ooh, it's temporary because it's made of biomaterials. They'll degrade, but you know what? So does every other material made by humanity, so yeah.
This was madness.
In my head, I saw myself making something really cool, and then I was gonna keep it and be like really sad, and 3 months when it biodegrades, but now I'm just like, what the f***?
What it was?
That would have been great B-roll. I can do that again.
Okay. I'm still recording. I didn't know I was.
Wait, were you recording the whole time?